Hello, fellow adventurers. I'm Lewis Nichols. When you world build, is a map of the campaign area one of your first steps? It is for me. I like to see how my geography is going to affect the campaign world and the game itself. Where are the settled lands? Is there border tension between states? Where are the gold mines? Where are the monsters? Most importantly for today, where are the rivers? You might start a game world knowing you want rivers to be an important part of it, or they might come up as you build. It's entirely possible only a portion of your map is going to be river-centric, creating a distinction between the river culture and everyone else. First, a few rules. If, big if, you want to stick with Earth physics, rivers usually start in or near mountains and drain into the seas. They follow the path of least resistance, always flowing down slope, even if that slope is really minor. Rivers will eat away at the ground as they flow, sometimes creating gullies, gulches, or canyons. This is usually a slow process. Many rivers are fed by snowmelt and flood reliably in the spring. This often creates fertile river valleys where civilizations can easily grow. River deltas are common, as are river islands. Major rivers splitting into other major rivers is borderline impossible without intervention. Again, this is fantasy. If the world builder wants to intervene, there's nothing wrong with the impossible. When a river does not have a direction to continue its journey, the water will rise until it overcomes the higher terrain, at which point it will drain. These are called lakes. Some lakes will be fed by more than one river. They will almost never be drained by more than one. Lakes will be the subject of another video someday. Rivers come in many shapes and sizes. In hilly terrain, they will twist and turn to follow the landscape. On the open plains, they are pretty damn straight. The most interesting rivers are those that can handle shipping, but don't play down the opportunities of waterways that are only accessible by canoe and raft. If you're working on one of those deep and wide rivers, lucky you. Just remember, it's a lot like an extension of the coast it leads to. Think about London. It's not coastal, but it sure acts like it is. You can have some very significant ports several miles upriver. These cities can trade with other river ports, but also overseas maritime nations. Sometimes upriver ports have an advantage as they avoid some of the nasty coastal weather. They might also be less exposed in times of war, thinking about London again, or when raiders come to call. When you make your river map, it doesn't have to be a thin strip situated around one strand of blue. The Mississippi River involves about 80% of the continental USA east of the Rockies. However, it is your choice. After all, the Nile is strictly on the straight and narrow, and many an ancient adventurer spent their whole career serving the pharaohs. Your river might be the home of many nations, large and small, with highly developed civilizations downriver and more primitive peoples at the headwaters. After mentioning the mighty Mississippi, it's hard not to picture Native Americans in their dugout canoes traveling through heavy forests. They would bring their boats with them, carrying them to the next river and continuing on their way. It doesn't have to be this way. That's just how it makes sense in my head. I'm probably just biased. But higher dev civilizations on the coast will have more exposure to foreign nations, more people, more exchange of ideas. It makes sense, right? As in all things, you do you. Your central river will become a part of the world around it. Access to water is something worth fighting a war over. Maybe the halfling menace in the north is using too much water, dropping the level of your your nation's rivers. Yeah, that's it. Maybe the Elven nation downriver is charging a toll to sail through their portion of the river. Are there mandatory inspection ports? Controlling both shores of a river sounds pretty cool, but they could be borders too. Look at a world map sometime. It's incredible how many of those squiggly borders are actually following rivers. In the real world, borders are usually considered to be at the center point of the river. It doesn't have to be the same everywhere in your world. This is just another minor decision that can create drama, conflict, and a reason for adventure. Remember, rivers affect travel, especially if traveling downstream. You can cover a lot of ground, possibly without the need for stopping overnight. When you're plotting things out, you'll need to take river travel into account. How fast does the river move? 50 miles in a day? 70? What are the onboard accommodations? What does it cost? Is there fishing? Speaking of which, any natural feature can be inspirational to the local populace. Artists are drawn to mountain vistas, but engineers and wizards might gain some calmness of mind to aid their work. Your river might have resorts for those who can pay. Official or not, on a hot day, the locals will seek out the water to cool off. But is it clean? Rivers are an easy exit for city sewage. And then there's the laundry. How much soap can a healthy river sustain? What about industry? Are there mills? It could be worse. Are tanneries upstream? Your rivers don't have to be pleasant. They can be dangerous and stinky. They don't even have to be navigable. You can body shame them. They can be too thin. They can be too fat and shallow. They can be whatever you need them to be in your world building process. I want to thank you all for stopping by, my fellows. I'm glad you chose to spend a little time with me today. Please help me out and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a moment, leave a comment. Tell me what you think about rivers. Have you used them in your game world? If you can't do any of that, it's okay. You matter in this world. I'm glad you're here. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Cheers.